I'd like to introduce the representative of Florida Space Coast, Mr. Posey.
Thank you very much, Chairman Babin. Dr. Pardikar, given your testimony and experience, besides our GPS system, what other navigation options is NASA looking at for unmanned aircraft systems and advanced air mobility?
It's a very important question, and really appreciate the support that we have in collaboration with Kennedy Space Center team. We have a number of options for alternatives to it's called APNT, Alternative Positioning, Navigation, and Timing Technologies, or GPS, so to speak. One of them is using low altitude, basically the satellite consortium, then using geo satellite consortium, as well as fiber optics related technologies. And another one that is currently being tested at a couple of NASA centers is using ground-based satellites or ground-based beacons to triangulate the positions. So not depending on the satellite-based GPS, but the ground-based system. So we have a number of opportunities when we are using SBIRs as well as some collaborative research with industry to figure out how will this be basically taken into account, right, to mitigate the effects of GPS degradation. We are also working with the FAA to understand what the requirements would be for advanced air mobility. This is also a critical component, because if you want to operate in a vertiport in an urban airspace, you would need similar technologies to ensure foolproof navigation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ms. Ellman, you mentioned when talking about unmanned spacecraft systems or aircraft systems that American leadership is at risk. Would you care to elaborate a little bit?
Absolutely, and thank you so much, Representative, for the question. It's an important one. You know, around the world, we've realized the benefits of this technology, and here in the United States, the technology has moved quickly ahead while the policies have somewhat lagged behind. And around the world, you know, so companies have really struggled to be able to scale here in the United States, and that's because regulators and policymakers, there are lots of really great people working across the federal government, including at the FAA, trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, which doesn't fit, not surprisingly. They're trying to regulate UAS using incongruous regulations designed for crewed aircraft, and it's simply not working. And so we need broad regulations here in the United States in order to really open this industry up and bring these amazing benefits to the American people. Around the world, other countries and nations, jurisdictions, including, you know, Australia, the EU, many other countries around the world are quickly moving forward, and frankly, many companies here in the United States, U.S. companies, are having to go abroad in order to operate. There is a national security imperative. There is an economic imperative. We can bring so much money here to the United States, but it's also a national security issue if we do not have this. This industry cannot succeed here at home. And of course, we've heard a lot about China has their own plan focusing on the civil drone industry and becoming the global leader. And we need that same national vision, that same national plan here in the United States, and Congress can play a critical role here.
What should we do next to accomplish that?
Well, we have lots of ideas, and we'd be happy to work with you. I think in the short term, I mean, obviously R&D is critical. That's what we're here to talk about. But that said, you can't really unpair the R&D from the regulatory, because the regulatory enables R&D, or in this instance is getting in the way of R&D. So there does need to be attention to the regulatory issues, both to enable research and development here in the United States, as well as broad rulemakings, enabling expanded operations, enabling beyond visual line of sight, moving the, right now the approvals here in the U.S. are very limited. Generally, first of all, if you want to fly beyond visual line of sight, in order to bring these vast benefits to your community, you have to actually go through a very lengthy approval process, and the approval itself will likely be site-specific, geographic-specific, and incredibly limited.
We're talking FAA here?
Yes, we're talking the FAA here.
I can't imagine the FAA is dragging their feet and holding up progress.
There are a lot of great people at the FAA trying really hard, but it simply hasn't worked thus far. So, we appreciate, we do think Congress needs to lead here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, my time's about to expire. I yield back.